Hello, everyone. Welcome to our fourth week of the Virtual Pending Festival here at Car Crash Productions. As we wait for our guests to come and join us, I'm going to let you know a little bit about her before she comes on. So our guest today is an award-winning writer from the UK, born and bred in Hong Kong and now based in the UK. And her list of accolades include being the very first playwright commissioned and produced in the English language by the Hong Kong Arts Festival in 2014. Another amazing thing she's done is that she's also the curator and editor of a collection of British East Asian plays published by Oberon Books, of which is the first of its kind in the UK, funnily enough, and amazingly enough. Another thing you might want to know about our guest coming on today is that her screenwriting has been acknowledged on the new Talent Hot List of 2017 by the BBC and Idris Elba. And also for the last 5 years, she has been working to bring new writing for East Asian writers in the UK and China under the banner of her company, Film Road Productions. And aside from that, you want to add on her getting a PhD from Oxford. She also now teaches students online and in person as well. So please welcome, I'm going to let her in now. Please welcome our amazing guest for today, writer, producer, powerhouse, and lockdown swimmer. Okay, let's see if she's on now. I hope everyone's feeling good. Hello. Welcome. Say hello.
Hi, Stephanie. Hi.
Hi. How are you?
I'm good. I'm okay. Well, I'm okay. I've been better, but I'm good. I'm really excited for this.
Yeah, just all our love and our prayers as well going out to Hong Kong. It's a very
Thank
hard
you.
time, as we know, but thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your knowledge and presence.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I'm really excited.
Yeah, so are we all as well. So as you know, our audience at Car Crash Productions we do emerging artists inspiration and know. So we wanted to get right into it with you today and ask you very much about how you started with theater and how that came about for you. And also you have a very strong voice with regards to your message in the works that you do. So do share with us from that point of view if you can.
Yeah, I guess it sort of happened in 2011, and I just done the Royal Court Young Writers Program, which is sort of this playwriting program. It's very prestigious, and it was sort of this sort of gateway to writing as a playwright. But it became very clear that kind of as you said, like the messages or the stories that I really wanted to tell weren't really being told. I mean, it's just as simple as that, right? So we established a company, Film Road, with my friend Pippa Howie, and we started to produce short play nights, one of which you yourself have starred in very, very incredibly, Lost Loudwise, except for Lost Loudwise. And these kind of escalated into the Foreign Good showcases, which became much more sort of isolated in terms of spotlighting East Asian and British East Asian and South Asian writers. So I suppose my top reasons would be just trying to tell really great stories that weren't being commissioned or weren't being showcased, very much without any budget, really guerrilla style, with the support of like-minded artists like yourself, about where we grew up, or what we went through, or our families, I guess. Sorry,
Yeah.
it's a little bit of a weird sound out there. I think someone's moving out.
The perils of live.
Yeah, can you hear me all right? Because I was told to use this. Hopefully that works, yeah.
Yeah, no, you probably got that note from our lovely associate producer and marketing manager, Colby,
Oh,
who also shares. And hi, Colby, she's probably watching. And also, we're saying hi to everyone who's joined us to let everyone know that, this is a live and you can ask questions. Anytime that you want to ask Jingan a question, you can just look and ask some questions. There's a little like question mark thing at the bottom here. So, and send that to us so that we can have a look at it and answer it during the thing. So yeah, I mean, it's just very, very, I think you're quite unique in the sense that you are a voice for to represent East Asian writers. And I know everyone has a reason for producing the work that they do. So your voice is very, very strong with regards to that. And has that been something that has driven you the whole time towards producing and writing? Or was that something because you saw a gap in the market?
I think it's sort of a combination of sort of both. Obviously, the realities of sort of producing as well as sort of you want to get bums on seats, which I guess we're going to go into when we talk about Life and Death at Folds, which was a completely different experience to, by the way, producing showcases, because with showcases you have so many people involved that it
Yeah.
becomes much more a collective. It becomes much more of a social and sort of political event, which to me is very important because, you know, as a writer who is also unrepresented very much so, especially in this country, that for me, being able to see those stories, to commission those stories, to produce those stories, it was a much more sort of, I guess, again, really community led, really kind of much more about giving opportunities to those writers, as opposed to kind of producing a show that I wrote, which is very much about telling my story.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think? I mean, it's, you were part of Foreign Goods, I think 3, and that was such a different vibe because we did it at the Arcola, which is such a different space to kind of 503, and we did so we actually, like, we were like way over full capacity. We had people like standing up behind other people because so many people wanted to go see it. But that's the thing, it's like it's a difference between kind of going to see, again, a very isolated show, one writer, one, you know, one voice, and then lots of different voices. I think there's really different strategies to producing as well. It's a lot easier to produce showcases is the short
Yeah.
answer. Yeah.
Yeah, because you've produced festivals. I mean, I would consider that more of a festival style
Yes.
thing. And you know, were you very much, I mean, because you've been part of the writers community, so that's probably where it started for you, also within your networks and starting to come together and create, you know, the work that you do with everyone.
Definitely. I think, yes, it's much more of a from a writer perspective, I guess, with that complete project. But, you know, then again, it really gave me a car crash lesson. Oh yeah, got that in there. Car crash lesson of producing, because it really takes all your faculties. You have to market the show. You have to deal with financial stuff. Sorry, my brain isn't working today. But you know, you have to deal with contracts, or not. Maybe you don't have to deal with contracts, particularly in the case of the showcases. It was very much everybody all hands on deck. You know, like we had one tech rehearsal where we did like 5 minutes for every single one of the 8 plays that we had on. So
Yeah.
yeah, so it's really, again, that was a real lesson. Those 3 showcases that we did were a real lesson for me, and what not to do and what to do,
Yeah.
particularly with press, I think,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, I mean, and also like with regards to today, and we were being quite specific with the title today about self-producing. So there's that, and then we're talking about like the experience that you had at the vaults. So for everyone who just came on board, we're talking to Dr. Jingan Young today on self-producing at the Vaults Festival, and so the play that you produced there is called Life and Death of a Journalist, which you wrote. And also, you had a Guardian review saying that it was an intensely smart play, grappling with the ethical complexity of political journalism. So, and this
Yeah,
seems
so
to be
good.
quite a passion for you as well. Even on your socials, on Twitter and things, you're very passionate about this. Do you share with us? I mean, there's quite a few moving parts to the question, but how was it, producing at the vaults, and was that different from the way that you would have produced something elsewhere?
Um, yes, I mean, this is the thing about, so the Vaults obviously has this incredible reputation as being sort of the #1 leading London Fringe Festival, really, of new work. And it's just an incredible thing just to be part of the family, to be even accepted, because the way that it
Mm.
works is you just kind of, you send this proposal off into the void of a production or something you want to do, work in progress, etc. I think this year, unfortunately, like we actually, with this play, we got in just before they closed because of the lockdown. So that meant
Yeah.
so many artists weren't able to show work, which is just, it's just terrible. But they do, I think it's something like they work with over like 2,000. I think they had 2,000 artists this year, which was really, so that in itself is already kind of a draw, because you
Yeah.
already have an established, you have an established reputation, you have an established setting, so you have kind of a guarantee of audiences.
Hmm.
But at the same time, you know, Vault, again, you know, it's this kind of hidden away sort of, it's in the tunnels down in Waterloo, and it's very much got its own kind of established community again. So I think this year the way that it was programmed was really for me really quite you know, inspiring, because there were so many East Asian, so many South Asian shows that they've programmed
Yeah.
this year. I think the first time ever. So it was, they're very much trying to, I think every year they're trying to kind of program new shows that kind of bring a different type of audience to their space. So in contrast to kind of the showcases that we did with 503 and the Alcola, which were very much us just coming in and renting the space, right?
Yeah.
And by renting, I mean all of the box office was taken out to pay for the space, right? Anything that we made went into paying the rent of the show, which means you don't make any money. Whereas with, I think, Vaults, again, if you look online on the resources page on the website, it very much kind of outlines the way that it works. It's very much about, they really do support young artists, and the way that they do that is you don't have to pay a fee up front. So you don't actually have to rent whatever space you're allocated up front, essentially. And they take out a percentage of the box office, and then they also charge you a flat rate of £1,238 to be precise, just because I was dealing with that like the entire 6 months of prepping for the show.
Yeah.
But in response to your question about the things that I really am passionate about, and because of this play kind of encapsulated that, it did very much become sort of a weird sort of meta experience, right? Because it was like a play about something that I have experience with, but it was also about something that's, extremely important to talk about. Regarding, the protests and the pro-democracy movement and free speech. So in that way, it did, I think we'll probably go into this, it sort of did feed into each other, I guess, Jingan's written a play, Jingan is also sort of has this, I guess, identity as someone who believes passionately about this. And I think that really helped us kind of promote the show.
Yeah, I actually thought, because I watched it as well, and I thought it was just I felt it was highly personal. That's what I felt when I was watching it. It was really right. It was slamming me in the face with the content in a good way. I was, significantly moved. But also the space was called The Cage, there was a lot of really meta things about it. Did you find that, especially for young writers, producers as well, like matching the space and the vision of the festival to your vision is probably one of the key things?
I think so, because there are so many spaces where you don't have that kind of traditional theatre set up. So like right across the road from us, or road, corridor, there's something called the Crypt, and the Crypt is 100 degrees, humid, there's very little rigging. You have I saw a show in there and they have one spotlight. They have these pews, these church pews, which are very uncomfortable to sit in, but they managed to make it work because it was also about sort of censorship and sort of free speech and book burning and all this stuff, and it was great.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't have suited my show at all, because it was very much about the way that we transform the cage. So if people don't know what the plot of the show was about, it's basically about a female journalist who sort of gets a job at a pro-Chinese Communist Party newspaper, essentially. And the way that we had designed the stage was so that you kind of entered into the pro-democracy protests. And in a way, it was sort of a controlled, but also an uncontrolled environment, right? But it was very stylized. But at the same time, it was like, we are putting on a show with 3 actors. They need also that safety. They need to feel supported. Otherwise, they won't be able to perform, And so, again, a long answer to your question, but yes, I think it is really important. And, the second space that I had in mind was the, I think it's called the Network Theatre, and it's kind of around the other side. And it was much more of a big space. But again, you'd have to I think it was also bigger capacity. So with us, we had, I think we had 69 seats. So filling 69 seats as opposed to filling 90 seats is very, very different, right? So I think also you have to think about that. And it was in the cage is located in the main vault space. So you're with all the bars, you're within proximity to all the bars. So if anyone kind of didn't know what show they wanted to go see, and they saw, a poster for our show, they go, oh, that's Life and Death. It's right there. It's playing right there, right now. I'm going to go in, I'm going to get a ticket right now. And I think that really helped us during the end of the week of our show, is people just going, oh, that looks really good. Or they hear it on the, they had a, whatever it's called, a announcer woman. It's like, that's on now. And then I was like, oh, I wonder what that is. And then they go and watch it. So I think that was really good.
That was really strategic. I mean, sometimes I guess you can plan it up to a certain point, and then after that you kind of let it go and see how that happens. So do let us know, just as far as the key stages, say someone, because with your background, there's a certain amount of structure that as a producer you have to keep in mind throughout all the different stages, especially with self-producing. And I think I remember you told me that you're pulling your hair out because it was like you're doing everything. Yeah. So if you could give us the stages that you went through and how you structured things and what people can watch out for if, say, they are submitting to the vaults for the first time, and then what would happen after.
So kind of in kind of the way that the thing kind of came about actually was I did have co-producers in the beginning of the project, and for all the reasons that you know, they kind of could no longer have that responsibility, which was a huge. And this was, and I'm very much I'm very much a planner, almost anal retentive planner, and I planned probably 8 months. As soon as the play was accepted, I think in August, I'd already assembled an idea to kind of do a rehearsed reading at the Park Theatre in October, just to kind of get it on its feet and to see what I needed to improve upon. Then accepting the Vault offer as well was like, as soon as I had confirmed those two producers, because I knew that I was like, okay, I need some kind of, safety net. And yeah, doing everything, it ended up by December, January, I was pretty much doing everything by myself. But in the beginning, I did have a little bit of help, particularly with getting that first image. I wish we could bring it up, wish you could like put images on this thing, but it was this striking photo of our leading lady, Lucy Roslin, and she's sort of looking in the background. I wonder if I could get, no, I don't know where it is. It would take forever. Anyway, but yes, but it was an amazing, striking image. And I knew that as soon as you saw that, you'd be so intrigued by the show. And it was really important to start gearing up for that, because again, you are sort of, and I hate to say this, competing, but you are sort of in competition with all these other shows that are on at the same time as you. Even though you're also supporting other shows at the same time. So again, we probably go into this, but we did a lot of PRS swaps. We did a lot of like Twitter, like Q&As with a lot of other shows that were on. We did some deals. Yeah, we even did a deal with the show that I discussed in the Crypt across the street, which was After Ours. And because we had similar themes, and we sort of did a special Q&A discussion. So is there all these different ways of promoting your show through other shows, which is really, again, really amazing, because you get to meet all these other creatives. But you do have to plan. I mean, it was very much, I was very much a ship without, a steering wheel or whatever it is called for a while, and it was sort of like, okay, I've got to start like breaking down the priorities. And once you've cast that play, that was the most important thing, actually. That was the priority, was to cast the play. And to get those actors completely confirmed, because as you know, as an actress, your schedules can be all over the place, or you have like a responsibility or a bigger job, and I didn't want to lock these actors down into, oh, you have to do this fringe show. It was very much, we very much worked around their schedules. And it's like, if you need to leave for an audition, or if you need to, do another show at the same time. I think one of our actors, our leading actor, I think he was literally rehearsing for another show during the week of our performance. So it was very much like that. But that was the priority, was casting the show. And after that, it was very much about raising funds, which, is a whole other kettle of fish, which we managed to do really well. We managed to raise $5,000 for the show, which is still really like low.
Yeah.
I didn't take any salary from this. So it was, but I really wanted to pay everybody who was involved, from the stage manager, who is amazing, Reese Marchant, shout out. He literally did everything. He's the most amazing stage manager. He also did tech. He was tech stage manager, amazing. So yeah, lost a lot of everyone actually in this production.
Yeah, and so gathering. So we had you planning about 8 months ahead. Was that when you proposed it to the Vaults? Like, did you? Or was that from the point of confirming?
From the point of confirming, because they had already offered me the slot in like July or sometime in the summer already, and I was very much like, I don't know, should I do this? Is it worth it? And I asked a lot of friends who had done Vaults or who do Vaults every year, and very much like, oh, do you think it's worth it? And it was a very mixed response. Some people are like, you can't compete with this many shows, and it's really, really difficult to promote or stand out in the crowd. And others was like, no, you have to use this as a platform to try to transfer the show somewhere else, which is kind of really bittersweet, right? Because of what happened with COVID-19 and the fact that we closed literally like a week and a half before lockdown. And, following up, you can't really follow up with all the producers and all the artistic directors we invited. I mean, there's just it's really depressing, but we did get a lot of kind of incredible people coming down to see it, which was really great.
Yeah. Just to remind everyone, you can ask questions to Dr. Jingan.
Oh, rudder.
Well, we've got hello, Man of Steel 78.
That's what it is, not a steering wheel.
Amazing. So as far as with your experiences with, working with the actors and stuff, like, because, I think a lot of people, when we start as well, we think of ourselves as, maybe we're graduated as actors or graduated as a theater director, or like in yourself with the writing and stuff. And we kind of think ourselves as solo, like artists and stuff, unless we're very, very much, around in a tight community that we can create with. Was that how was your experience dealing with working with these teams of people? And is there anything that you could tell us about just to make things easier? Because I know that things can fall apart when you have people sort of, I don't know, just kind of floating or clashes. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, like creative people, we're all sort of all over the place, at the end of the day, right? That's why we do this. But I think once you have sort of you have a real aim. Sorry, someone's making noise over there. Like, what are you doing? You have a shared goal, which is to tell this story that you've been kind of, given. Then I think everyone does sort of get on board. But I mean, yeah, I mean, there's always going to be some issues, whether it's scheduling or someone, thinks that they're not getting enough support in that way. Or
Mm.
I think, I mean, the best advice is just to be kind. Again, it's always be kind and not let, especially as a producer. I think this is why there's so little producers, right? Because especially when I see it always like on, when you do like the old Vic Connect on Twitter and everyone's like, I need a producer, I need, and no, there's no responses to these call outs, because producing is really effing hard work. I mean, it's like, and you have to deal with everyone's egos, and you have to do it in a professional way, and you have to do it in a very discretionary way, which is my advice to everyone, is just, if someone has an issue, you should just directly just discuss it with them, make sure that they're happy, make sure that they feel safe with the project that you're kind of going forward with, or they're safe with the writing. It was slightly difficult because I was the writer on this,
Mm.
to kind of be vulnerable and let them take my script, which is what you do as a writer, right? You let the community take your script and interpret it. And it
Yeah.
did at times it was like, and I had all these hats on. But once you kind of step out of that and you look back on it, and you're like, no, 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 this is, you really have to give creatives the room and the space to breathe. That's the only thing you can do, and be kind to them. And at the end of the day, you've put something on and you've created something really great. And that is to be commended, really. And people have
Mm.
seen it. But sometimes it gets really difficult because, it's such a self-conscious, it's such a vulnerable industry. We are always, especially being, I mean, God, I can't imagine being an actor. You're always putting yourself in that situation to be, you know, molded and pushed and pressed and stuff. But in terms of, I think, yeah, kindness. I think kindness, and also, again, being really professional, and just, if there is an issue, again, this is sort of logistical. If there is an issue, really just try to nip it in the bud as soon as possible. But if it does become an issue, and whoever you're dealing with, for example, we had one actor drop out of the role. I completely forgot this. I blocked it out because it was so horrible. They had just suddenly like dropped out with no reason, and that really threw everybody, because they had already done a reading with us. So it was a bit like, they'd already put in that time, and they'd already kind of gotten their relationship with the other actors, and then we managed to recast really quickly, but it was kind of like, so in that way you just have to reassure everyone with lots of emails, with lots of like X's, of being like, no, everything's great, we're on track. If they have any questions. If not, discretion, it's all sorted out, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so lots of kindness, lots of communication. And have you had anyone trying to like overstep? You know what I mean? Like we see, because we have these hierarchies for good reason, in a sense, like that with actors trying to self-direct each other and stuff like that. Have you ever encountered that, and have you had to deal with that before?
I think we deal with it in all different ways,
Yeah.
in different projects. Some projects are more intense than others, and I think when you reflect on those kind of drama, internal drama, then it just means that the actual project was really important and really meant a lot to everybody involved, actually. And because everybody was really anxious, or really felt that they had to put in everything, and if anyone kind of touches that, it suddenly becomes, very sort of consciously, I don't know what the word is. It's just, it's one of those things. It happens throughout the industry. We don't talk about it enough because we're trying to be professional. I mean, sometimes it can be debilitating, but you just have to be really professional. And again, you're right, communication. It's just all about communication and reassuring people that, you know, you're not out to get them as a producer. If you're like, oh, you should wear that, you know, costume and not that costume, and it's like, no, you know, this is all for the show. This is all for the final product.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a really good reminder for us as actors as well, that because we are so much in that process of our creative art is also our instrument, our bodies, and so it's hard to not take things personally sometimes.
Yeah.
So that's a good reminder, even for, you know, on the actors as well, to just keep an open mind and everything. And I wanted to kind of jump on with our elephant in the room, with regards to our lockdown situation and theater and all that. What thoughts do you have on that for yourself, for theater moving forward? Advice?
Well, Sonia Friedman wrote a really great article in The Telegraph, which has been sort
Yeah.
of shared around, and she's completely right. I think theatre does need a lifeline, but I'm afraid, like, you know, everything's going to be pushed back. It's going to be like living in like a weird sort of 2 year hiatus, I think. I mean, I don't know how you feel as an actor. I mean, are you getting sort of voice work, or are you like, you know, I mean, you're doing lots of music, which is great, but I mean, in terms of actors, I mean, for actors it's worse, because with producers and writers, we can all sort of, we can pitch, and TV I think is going to be fine, but it's sort of like, you know, all that stuff always takes a long time anyway in preparation. But with actors, gosh, you know, I have a lot of friends who are just doing voice work right now, but it must be so difficult. And how to prepare for the future, like how, I mean, I read that soaps are already kind of trying to go back into production, and actors have to do their own makeup, and, you know, but I mean, it's very positive. I think theatre will be fine. I had a great discussion with a producer the other day, and she's like, I was like vomiting, like, oh my God, I don't know, like, I'll never be able to write a play again, and she's like, no, it's going to be fine. It's adapting. So I think it will be fine.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think as creatives, like just the fact that we have to create and be resourceful, there's a real opportunity. I know, like, my partner, Stephen, he has his own theater company and stuff, and he is like on the train of thinking about what can we do with the restrictions? What can we create with the restrictions? And I think to me, that's a lot more of an open-minded approach, you know, as to kind of, let's make lemonade with lemons, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I am curious to know, if anybody's watching, what your thoughts are on that, and what you could recommend, or what are you already doing to kind of, you know, put things out there and be creative. I feel like you're right, with producers and writers, you can create and you can pitch. And I feel like I'm seeing a lot of things with actors. It's a perfect opportunity to kind of have a whole portfolio of self-tapes, you know,
That's fantastic. Yeah.
yeah.
That's
Wonderful.
really good.
Yeah, yeah. I think I'm just curious. You know, whoever is on the feed right now or gonna watch it later, like, we're gonna watch back the comments and see if anyone's posted any suggestions or questions as well.
Yeah.
So a big thing now, to kind of steer it back to your producing at the Vaults and stuff. A big thing I noticed that you're doing, and anyone Googles your name, Dr. Jingan Young and stuff, you're really big on the press side of things. Like, you're also a member of press. Like, you've written at the Guardian, right? You've written articles or interviews, and you seem to be very, very active, because obviously it's the written word, you know. And how have you managed to build that up? Like, I mean, I think we're all curious, like, new companies, new actors, new producers going like, how do we get reviewers in? You know, how do we get them to notice us? And just interested to know how your journey was with that, and you know, what tips you could give for that as well.
Yeah, it's a real long experience. I mean, I've been doing this for like 7 or 8 years now, and I think if you are, again, you're right, you are sort of privileged in that space if you do already freelance for newspapers. But again, you know, for example, the stage, I wrote an article to promote Life and Death in the Stage, and that was very much me just emailing Nick, the editor, and being like, I really need to promote this show. Can I write an op-ed, you know, about it? And he's like, yeah, that's a great idea. Do you also want to get paid for it? And I was like, yes. Because because most of the articles, for example, the Guardian article, which eventually became viral, which you know, I'm really proud of that article, but I wasn't paid for that. You know, I spent like an hour writing it and worrying about it a lot. But you know, most of this all comes from, you know, kind of you just pitching your show, weirdly enough, pitching your show and going, but I want to write about it and it's in this angle, and I think it will bring this audience to your publication.
Yeah.
And some newspapers are very much closed off, but it's very much about putting yourself out there on, and I tell this to all my students, get a website, I know this is really simplistic, but I think a lot of people don't have websites, they don't have profiles, they don't have a brand. And I hate saying that, but in terms of we're going into the nitty gritty of this, and it really is about having a really clear voice. I mean, if you're a producer of plays that are set in space, you're the only producer that ever produces plays that are set in space, that's fantastic, because then you can sort of build a brand. You can follow NASA, you can follow scientific think tanks, you can follow research institutions who then may end up supporting you or forwarding it around. Again, another example, Life and Death. I contacted, the NUJ, which is the National Union of Journalists, really just on Twitter. I was like, this play is about a journalist. Can you help us promote it? Literally got a reply and said, yeah, we're going to put it in our newsletter. This is great. And we had a lot of journalists who would never go see a play in the vaults, coming and saying, well, I really, really enjoyed this. I think it's really about having a real good brainstorming session with your team of your show and going, what's the major pitch of this play? And again, it's like coming back to this kind of writing, asking the writer, can you write me a 15, 20 word log line for your play? This play is about a female journalist who has her morals questioned because she's in bed with a dictatorship, that kind of thing. And it's coming up with really, I guess, not buzzwords, but, very much about thinking about who the audience is and what's going to be entertaining for them. Like, if you're not into journalism, you'd be into the romantic aspect of Life and Death, because there's parallel narratives about how her relationship is breaking down. So I really think that, really use normal people. And I noticed, I know that's really stupid, but I noticed a lot of young companies, they're so, like you just said, it's like, oh, I keep emailing a younger theatre to come and review me and da-da-da. And it's like, just get in contact with independent bloggers. Build up a rapport with them. You can find everybody on Twitter. You just have to search. You just have to know how to search for it. It's like being an academic. So that's really, it's really interesting when people sort of complain, because it's like, well, actually, maybe your play isn't for them. Maybe your play is for example, it talks about, I don't know, about drug addiction, and try to contact charities that also deal with drug addiction and try to create a collaboration with them. I mean, the Arts Council always, when you're filling in an Arts Council funding application form, you always have to talk about outreach, community outreach, which is very much about working with a charity or working with a corporation. And on this play, Life and Death, we worked with PEN International, which is a charity for writers at risk or writers who've been in prison. So again, that brought us kind of a different level of, we weren't paying them, they weren't paying us. This is very much a collaboration. And I'd say 95% of the time, organizations are very, very happy to do that. So I guess the major points to take away from this are, don't be afraid to email, but when you do email, have a press pack, have a 2-page beautiful PDF with, pictures of the cast and reviews, have that dedicated Twitter page, go on LinkedIn, stalk some journalists who are kind of into the same stuff as you. And don't be afraid to just be tenacious and reach out. Again, I'm always saying this, but you have to have a website. I always say this, you have to have some sort of presence, because people are going to Google you immediately. And you talked about that. If you Google me, it's but it's very much a curated list. It's very much what I want you to see. Not everything. Some stuff is a bit bad. Reviews come up on the second page. It's just this is a terrible play. And that's oh, so you can't help that. You just can't help that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say don't be so bogged down by just contacting industry. And I think a lot of young creatives are too set in that, thinking, oh, this is a play, so I have to invite people who work in this industry. And it's but that's not the point of theatre. The point of theatre is to turn people on to theatre, in my opinion. I mean, obviously to entertain as well, but yeah, that's what I think the thing is to do, is really hone what the message of your play is, and then start from there, really, and build from there.
And I love your suggestions, and I think a lot of people have not thought about that yet. So this is very, very valuable, especially, and what I take away from it especially is to think of if you're not great at writing your message, get someone who can, maybe
Yeah.
someone in your team or stock a writer,
Yeah.
and how you can win-win on both sides. I think that's lovely. So that's a huge takeaway for I think for many of us today. So we're actually if anyone has any questions,
I
shoot them
know.
to us.
Question.
Strike while the iron is hot.
I love your
But
background. Sorry.
sorry.
I love your background.
Oh, thank you.
It's beautiful.
Lockdown activity, like seriously.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, you painted those. They're amazing.
Yeah, just a few of those. And I didn't paint him, but he's having a nice little nap over there. Since we do have some extra time, your and this would be for everyone here who writes their own stuff as well, is that you because you published your the Foreign Goods, a selection of writing by British East Asian artists, sorry, with Oberon Books. Again, everyone's like, oh my God, publishing a book, and so I'd love to hear about your experience with that, how that happened. Um,
Sure.
yeah.
Sure. Oh my God, like such a whirlwind thing. But again, that came from what I said earlier, which is just email people, right? I mean, it was really well. What was interesting about that is we did the second showcase for Foreign Goods at Theatre 503, and two editors from Oberon came because obviously it's a very small network, and a lot of people that were in it had friends, and and they came up to me and they said, "Oh, hello, who are you? And you're an unpublished writer in this country, and da da da." And I was like, I'd love to. I don't know why there aren't any British East Asian play collections. I've got
Mm,
so many collections from so many different backgrounds. Irish writers, etc., etc. Why aren't there any East Asian, South Asian play collections? And they were like, oh, that's so interesting. And then we sort of just kept having lunch meetings, and it was a long process. It took 2 years to sort of get that all signed and yeah,
mm,
and confirmed. And it ended up just being sort of eight very curated, like 8 pieces that were different, monologues, short plays, very much a toolkit to sort of introduce you into that world. And
yeah.
David Henry Huang, who does the foreword, thank you. Oh my God, I love you, David. Who's obviously not watching because he has better things to do. He did the foreword, which I thought was just really incredible, like an Asian American, legend, kind of paying respect to kind of the new. I know it's horrible to say it's new, but whatever, the new wave of British East Asian writers. But it was, again, it was about convincing. It was about convincing Oberon that this was a risk that they should take, which again is really horrible to say because it shouldn't be a risk. It should just be a really kind of normal thing. There should be 10 British East Asian play collections with 10 different writers and da 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 da. But there aren't, and it very much is. Sometimes it feels like it's a closed shop for us. Yeah, but that's a whole other Instagram live
Yeah.
discussion, right? About representation. But you know what? It was at the end of the day an email that I wrote. I spent about like a couple hours writing it to them, and it was very much about saying, being quite like putting on a producer hat, very much saying, this will have an American market, this will have a global market. There is nothing like this. You will have it has the prestige of being, published by Oberon Books,
Yeah.
available in all good bookshops, and you'll have you'll be able to sell these, because I think they were very unsure about that. I think they were like, there's nothing like this, so it's really difficult to sell. And it's like, no, this is the point, is that people want the new, and it's such an old thing to say. It's just so boring. I'm so bored of saying, no, this is a novel thing, and it's like, but it's
Yeah.
not. It really isn't. But anyway, that's what happened, and then it was published, and it looks great, and we spent a long time coming up with the cover, which is, I wish I had my copies over there, but anyway, I wonder if I could just go. Might as well.
Ooh, a little tour of your house.
I know, it's amazing. So this is the book.
Oh, wow.
Is that nice?
Here we go. And can I say, like, I think I told you this, but I told the East 15 Library to get it.
Amazing.
And
Yeah.
so we have it in our library now,
So
which
cool.
is so amazing material for
Yeah.
young, and well, of all ages, really, East Asian writers and actors to use material and for auditions and monologues and things.
Yeah, no, thank you, by the way, it's amazing. That's so cool that it's in the library. Yeah, I hope an East Asian young actress or actor will pick it up and do it. Yeah, there's a couple monologues in there and some short plays and longer plays. Yeah, it was very much about giving it that, it's a selection,
Yeah.
right? It's a selection, and it was very much about pushing that door open, but in a very ironically commercial way. is very much about saying these voices are commercial, these voices are worth your time and money, and it's not a risk. And it was very much trying to make that message, as opposed to saying, why, it was very much not being like it's not victimizing anyone, or it's not lambasting anyone or criticizing the industry in the way it is. It's about saying, it's about, literally opening the door, right?
Yeah.
Look, there's a question. This is
Yes.
cool. Hi.
We have a question. Hi to Melanie Lam. Thank you so much for your question. The question is, do you have another similar East Asian project on the line? So I think that segues lovely into the next thing we were going to say about Dr. Jingan Young, what she's been up to now. Go for it.
I've been up to crying every night and sitting in the sun. That's what I've been doing. Oh my God, so somber. I know. Another East Asian project, I would love to. I'm always rejected from Arts Council funding, FYI. Oh yeah, these showcases were also all rejected from Arts Council for funding, so we could pay everyone. Is that amazing? I know, I'm just like, so if you guys know any benefactors that would like to help us pay everyone, because I really just want to go forward with just being, really like everyone gets a salary for what they're doing. Yeah, I mean, foreign goods too would be great. I think that would be fantastic. Foreign goods too, new, and a whole other group of new writers and stuff. I feel like we've stalled a little bit, but maybe I'm just out of it, because I've been so involved.
I mean, would you be open to people contacting you about potentially submitting something for you to have a look at?
Yeah, no, definitely. You know what? My emails are always open. You can find me everywhere. You mentioned, I do these workshops with young writers, and they're always sending me stuff to say like, is this really crap? And I'm like, yes. No, I don't say that, but it's a really nice dialogue, and I like engaging with young writing, because sometimes I'm quite I can get quite lethargic, particularly during COVID. Obviously everybody's a little bit sad, and I think it really helps you engage, like things like this. I was feeling a little low, and I feel a lot better now, so thank you, Stephanie, for asking me to do this, because I do feel, yeah, it's nothing better than talking about yourself for 45 minutes. So. It's always really fun.
Therapeutic.
Very therapeutic. But it's nice because it's like you're doing lots of things. I'm trying to do things. I mean, keeping up with like writing these kind of short competitions and going back to sort of that going through the motions again of getting rejected or not getting rejected or getting feedback and all these things. So I think you just have to keep doing it. And what's really great as well, I think someone tweeted about this, that even if you write and you just get no feedback or zero feedback, whatever, you're still putting something out into the world. You're still contributing to the conversation, even though you don't know you are. Someone reading that script is going to have it in their head, and they're going to, it's going to change someone. So I think that's also really important to bear in mind. It's a little bit wishy-washy, but that's kind of the way that I've been looking at right now, what's going on right now.
Yeah, so I'm sure you've got something kind of bubbling in there that could potentially be new writing from you.
No. But that segues very nicely into, we are recording one of my already existing plays from Foreign Goods, available everywhere, because, why not? And because I can't write anything new. So please buy a ticket. We're offering discounted. Can I plug this now?
Yes, please.
So, great. So we're offering discounted tickets to listen to the whole play, which is going to star two amazing actors in I'm Just Here to Buy Soy Sauce. From May 28th, it's only £4, I believe. We're charging £4, and Eventbrite. I think we can just link people. Just go. The link is actually in my bio. So if you guys just want to go into my IG and just click the link and read all about it, it's a really fun play. Yeah, that's what I'm doing, recording all plays.
Yeah, and it's one of the actors. I remember when I did the Foreign Goods festival with you, David East, who also wrote. Who's performing, and it's a radio play. I'm very excited that you've it's very in line with lockdown. So let's go back to hearing our radio plays, right? So Eventbrite, they could find it, and the title is I'm Just Here to Buy Soy Sauce. And we can follow you on your Instagram. And of course, if people they love the play so much, and if you want to read it while you hear it, that's where you go get it on Amazon. I have a copy myself. It's somewhere. Let me helping. I'm going to be doing it. And so we can find you on Twitter. What's your Twitter handle?
My Twitter is just @ and then my name, Jingan Young. Very simple. You can just type in Jingan Young.
Cool. Jingan is Jingan
Young.
And on Instagram, you're Campari and Soda. I love that.
Yeah.
Like,
Gonna
awesome.
have one later.
Yeah, you can have one later after this. So again, thank you so much, Dr. Jingan, for being with us today. And thank you for everyone watching. And again, if anyone has any questions for you, they can just contact you via your socials and check out the amazing radio play that you're going to premiere, which is going to be from the 28th of May till the 6th of June at something like £4 or something. So yes, support.
Yay! Thank you, Stephanie. It was really fun.
Okay. Any last words? No, it sounds so horrible.
Just everyone, keep safe. Everyone keep safe. How about that?
Yeah.
And happy. Enjoy the
You
sun.
too. You too. Yeah. Take care then. Bye.